Another reason, a major reason why the average punter will lose money at Eurovision is because they're placing their bets before the semi-finals have taken place. And that means they're betting with incomplete information. We need to realize that what sounds to us to be a great song, does not necessarily equal a great performance, and a great performance does not necessarily translate to a Eurovision winner. It's not that simple. Let's talk about where the average punter gets it wrong. As always, this is not financial advice. Betting on Eurovision is high risk. Please do your own research. All betting markets follow the Pareto Principle. Pareto Principle, it's a law of the vital few. It's a theory that states that 80% of the output of a given situation is determined by 20% of its input. So here we have 20% effort will yield 80% of the results. Another example is the richest 20% of the world's population will receive 80% of the world's income. That's a pretty big skew. Another example is by fixing the top 20% of the most common Windows software bugs, by fixing the most common 20%, 80% of the problems in the Windows system were eliminated. Here's another example. A company's top 20% of its customers, will help the company earn 80% of its profits. Last example is a plant has 20% of its volume attributable to housing 80% of its fruit. The Pareto Principle also relates to Eurovision. We have over $50 million bet on Eurovision worldwide every year. Now, of that $50 million, 20% of the punters betting in this market will win 80% of that $50 million betting pool. That's $40 million. 20% of the punters will win the $40 million, and then that leaves 80% of the punters fighting over $10 million, the remaining 20% portion. The lesson here is that betting is a zero-sum game. For every dollar won for someone, there is $1 lost from somebody else. Why are 80% of punters worse off compared to the top 20%? There are several reasons for this. Their emotions are dominated by greed and fear when they bet. So they overreact to situations on news, to the hype, and they make a lot of errors. 80% of punters do not understand risk. Their understanding of risk is very poor. They also don't realize they're betting in an illogical market, an intangible market that doesn't always make sense. Probably the most important reason why they lose is because they're betting before the semi-finals have taken place. And thus they have incomplete information when they bet, especially around the performance of a song and how it relates to that connection with the audience. When we talk about betting on the Eurovision Song Contest, it is true that 20% of the punters will be the wolves and the other 80% of the punters will be the sheep. And I know which side I would want to be on. Let's go further in detail about the reasons why these punters, the majority of punters, will lose money. Let's talk about the emotional aspect, the greed and the fear that results in overreactions and making big costly mistakes. Human beings are naturally insecure creatures, and we succumb to the emotions of greed and fear when betting. It's natural. When we combine this greed and fear with Eurovision, music is also naturally emotional. It's very powerful. And so we get common reactions to the song contest of this. If we really like a song, and in my head I'm thinking, wow, this song sounds so good, it's got to win. It's got to win. I'm going to bet all of my capital on this. That's an example of greed. Here's an example of fear. If I'm watching a song in rehearsals that I previously liked, and they're having problems with the rehearsal, I'm thinking, oh my God, there are so many problems with this rehearsal. I'm out. There's no way this will ever win. Ever. Euphoria and panic, greed and fear, they drive the betting markets, and they're responsible for either driving the betting odds down in terms of greed or pushing the odds up in terms of fear. And there's a chart of Ukraine in 2022. Credit goes to beteurovision.com that I will show you in a second. When things are so volatile, how are you supposed to time and trade this market? The answer is you can't. Here's an example. This is of the share market. This is the greed and fear, a greed and fear index. 0, extreme fear, 100, extreme greed. A year ago, the stock market in 2021, everybody was greedy. Everybody was high on the stock market returns. And then a week ago, everybody was scared, and now, recently, people are very, very afraid of the stock market because it's been declining. It's amazing how we've swung from extreme greed a year ago to now extreme fear.